Okay, so we've got 3 viewers on the video.
Woo-ha!
I think
Nice.
one of them is not me this time.
That's good.
I was inflated last time because of that. Okay, cool. Just so everyone knows who's listening, and I guess I could turn on recording here. Yeah, so everyone knows we're going to be recording this a little bit differently than we normally do. This is the raw recording, so some of the stuff you're going to hear today you're not going to hear on the final version. But thank you for joining anyways. Some sneak peek behind the scenes production stuff. So if you're used to the live show format, you know how this goes. But we're going to do it segmented a little bit, just because we are waiting on Bill. So for right now, we're going to do the sponsor break, and then we'll get into the rest of the show. This episode of the Go Media Podcast is brought to you by the Arsenal. With us right now is Simon, the Arsenal product manager. What's happening at the Arsenal right now as we head into the holiday season, Simon?
Hey everybody. Well, obviously the big thing on the calendar right now is all the Black Friday / Cyber Monday deals, which will happen from November 29th until December 2nd. And Jeff and I worked on finding kind of, okay, like a few years back we had like the complete vector collection for only $100. So we were just trying to, okay, how can we top that off? And so we spent the time to find and compile kind of a hidden gems of the Arsenal bundle. And it includes a video tutorial, 3 texture packs, 4 vector sets, 4 markup templates packs, and more. And the full list will be unveiled on the day of the event. We also, and it's just going to be a very fantastic bundle with a very fantastic value for all of our fans out there and for our customers. There's also, on top of that, there's a 50% off coupon code that will be available to all of our newsletter subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to the Arsenal newsletter, you should do that now. And basically that coupon code will take 50% off your order, no questions asked.
How can people do that? How can people get that newsletter?
They head on to arsenal.gomedia.us, and at the top right of the page, if I'm not mistaken, there's a menu newsletter, and they should be able to sign up straight from there. Yeah. And I think there might also be a sign up menu from our Facebook page, but I could be wrong about that. There's also 50% off on our merch store, so if there's that WMC Fest merch that you wanted to get all that time and you never got around to it, now's the time. And we're also very happy to announce that we're having our first sale on the Drawn to Business paperback edition. So you should jump on that because once again the value will be quite fantastic. And there's also going to be a quick sale on the Threads Not Dead ebook bundle. So it's the ebook version of Threads Not Dead, the book that Jeff wrote about the t-shirt industry. And it also comes with a bunch of fantastic goodies and tutorials and design resources, and it's just full of awesome.
Yeah, and the big bundle that we talk about, we're doing a doorbuster deal. You know, even though we have no doors on the Arsenal, but the first 100 customers get an extra sweet discount.
Yes.
So for those people on the newsletter, you're going to get first crack at it, and then everyone else on our Facebook page and everyone else will know about it. And so yeah, we hope that our customers get a chance to get their hands on that. But still, even if they don't get the doorbuster deal, that 50% off code is still going to be relevant. They can still use that.
Yep.
More information coming up in the next email from you.
Absolutely. And that email should go out on Monday or Tuesday.
Of what day? What
Monday,
day is that?
I'm always going to get that wrong. So if Friday is the 28th, Monday is the... And Super
25th.
Bryan, 25th. Thank you.
All right. Say that out loud. Say Monday the 25th.
Monday the 25th.
All right, cool.
You will be able to edit that in.
Yeah, I will edit that in. Okay,
well, we've also got. Well, you're prepping a new product, a brand new product.
Oh yeah, that's
coming up next week too.
That's right.
That will be available to be purchased in the Black Friday sale. So
that is absolutely correct. And that was based on an idea that Bill had like a little while ago. We noticed that a lot of designers don't leverage the value that a brand best practices guide has when they deliver a brand to their clients. And it's also a very time-consuming task, and it's just like a daunting little thing that, because it's that a bit nebulous and mysterious, people never get to, or don't often get to. And we believe we found like the solution to solve that problem. We basically came up with a boilerplate templated solution for that, and we're very excited to unveil it to you guys. It's our very own Chris Comella that's supposed to talk a bit later, that's behind the project, and he, just to give you an idea of the quality and how great it's going to be, Chris is the guy that thought up the freelance survival kit. So expect the same kind of finish and flexibility and great content and etc.
Yeah, so if you've ever designed a logo and you've given it to your client, this is another thing that you could do to supplement that value that you give your client. So you give them not just the logo and the files, but like, here's a PDF document that's nicely designed that has best practices, how to use your logo, how to use your color schemes, what not to do, like the space around it. There's a whole bunch of little details that people tend to include in these style guides that is sometimes confusing to think of. So we thought of everything, we put it in there for you. You just got to replace your content, and then it enables you as the designer to charge more for your logo design services, because now you have this extra value that you can provide your client, and you didn't really have to put a ton of work into it. And if you already have a brand standard guide, I mean, you could probably take a look at this to see if you're leaving anything out. Maybe that we thought of something that you didn't think of, but it's a kind of a no-brainer. We deliver one for every logo design branding project that we do for our clients.
Yep, absolutely. So it's going to be great. This will come out on Monday the 25th. Or Tuesday the 26th. We have a few little details we need to wrap up before we launch it. But it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. We're excited to be able to share that with you guys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And once again, that is arsenal.gomedia.us.
Yep.
Okay. With that, we're going to take a quick break as we switch out hosts here for a second. So if you're watching the video feed, we're going to be in and out of the room for a few minutes.
Little ones that you were once a little one.
All right, and we're back. Thank you again for joining us. Some quick shout-outs to the live chat. We've got Angry City in there. We also have the Sean R. Hughes. Great to have you guys. Definitely join the live chat once we actually start getting into our main conversation. Would love your input. But we're going to be starting that soon. And again, thanks for checking out the video feed.
Oh, I forgot to come up with a quick tip.
If you like the, do you have a quick tip, Jeff?
Oh man, we should ask our audience for a quick tip.
There we go. We'll have an entire podcast where we provide no content. We just ask our listeners to provide the content.
All right. Ready to get started?
Sure.
Let's wait. Let's wait.
You know, I kind of feel like our whole show is a big quick tip because it's all the like resources that we've discovered this year that we're using to make our lives better.
Well, we generally do extend the quick tip to be a majority of the show. So
It always just grows uncontrollably.
Mm-hmm.
Can I borrow your pencil?
yeah. All right, so today's episode is going to be about tools and services and techniques that we use pretty much all the time now that we either that are new or was introduced to us this year that makes our jobs easier, that makes our jobs more fulfilling and rewarding. So it's not going to be totally design related. It's going to be I'm a developer, so I'll have my developing things. Bill is going to be doing some small business stuff, so it's going to be kind of across the board. So if you got anything in the live chat, just add it in the chat, and we'll bring it into the discussion.
Yeah. So who wants to start? Should we start should we do a quick tip first, or?
No, I can do the full intro.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have a quick tip.
Yeah, if we don't have a quick tip, we'll just go right into the main conversation. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're all ready to record. Hello and welcome to the Go Media Podcast. The Go Media Podcast is dedicated to tips, tricks, and tales of the business-minded artist and designer. It's our way of letting you inside of our studio to learn about the ups and downs we face here at Go Media and how we're dealing with them. This is episode number 18, recorded live on Thursday, November 21st, 2013 at gomediazine.com/live. On today's episode, we talk about the new services, tools, techniques, and philosophies that made our jobs as designers, developers, and small business-minded people easier and more fulfilling in 2013. With us today is Jeff Finley. Say hello, Jeff.
Hey.
And Bill Beachy. Say hello, Bill.
Hey, everyone.
My name is Bryan Garvin. If you are listening live, you can talk to us in the chat. Maybe you're using something this year that is new to you, new to us, that you want to share. We'll bring in those comments during the conversation. This episode of the Go Media Podcast has been brought to you by The Arsenal. The Arsenal is a library of design elements such as vector art, textures, fonts, brushes, and even tutorials made by us and our designers we love to work with. This is our arsenal of design weaponry. So get in, choose your weapon, and get to work. With us okay, skipping that part. We've already done that one.
Check.
All right. So let's just jump right into the conversation. We're gonna handle this podcast a little bit differently. Normally we do the quick tip and what Go Media's been up to, but I think right now it's a good time to just talk about what we've been using overall. So what were we introduced to in 2013 that made our jobs as designers, developers, and business owners easier and more fulfilling? So what are we thankful for? Who wants to start?
Well, let's go by category. Like, let's talk about or do you want to go by person? How do you like?
We can do.
Well,
category.
I have like a Post-it note, and Jeff has like 7 pages of.
Not all this stuff is
Stuff.
actually. I realized not all this stuff is from 2013. Like, I discovered it in 2013.
Well,
but-
that's the thing. It's not necessarily new but we were just
But it helps.
introduced into kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's new to us.
Well, anyway, let's just talk about design resources. Me, I actually haven't been doing a whole lot of design like as my main work these days, but there are a few things. I don't really find myself scouring the web for free design resources as much as I used to, but there are a couple things I came across. One of them is the texture collection by Smith's Canvas, the Blacksmith Texture Collection. It's one of the best texture packs I've ever seen, and it's not free. You got to pay for it, but it's like one PSD full of all sorts of variations of distressing and ink and dust and for your entire document. It's like an 8x10 sheet of materials and stuff like that. It's pretty good. And there's another one very similar called 16x20 textures. It's a way that I've never seen texture packs done, and it's kind of cool. I like those. Bill, do you have any?
Like how they're done?
Most
Are they
text
black and white?
They're black and white, but it's in one PSD in a bunch of layers.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. And then each layer is transparent. So it's like it's got the black specks on top in a variation,
Mhm.
and they cover each of them is like an 8.5 by 11 or whatever size. It's not just like one little texture in the corner, but it's like of varying degrees. It's kind of like machine wash filters,
Mhm.
where it's like you can distress your entire shirt design with it, depending on how rough you want to get with it.
Mhm.
So those are real cool. And Bill, do you have any design resources that
None.
you've discovered?
Yeah, I think
I still use Illustrator version 6 or
yeah, I think
Two.
I think that's true for all of us here. I mean, I haven't been designing as much as I had been previously. Like I started to do the whole drawing thing, but that never really kicked in. I've always had something else going on that was preoccupying me.
This will sound a little weird, but I'd say GoMedia as a company has rediscovered the pencil. And I think I may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but it's really, we started as artists and illustrators, and of course we pick the pencil up when we're drawing something, but when it came to just design stuff, like laying out a brochure or sketching up something on an icon or, laying out a web page even, like when we really formalized our process, we made sure that the pencil sketching was part of that process, and so I've been doing it more this past year. And so
yeah, and
it's an old tool that it's extremely valuable. So
Bill's thankful for the pencil. Another cool plugin that I found for Illustrator is called Vector Scribe. I downloaded the free trial and I haven't actually activated the full version yet, but they just released an update to it, which Bill, you would probably totally get a kick out of it. Like one of the best tools I like is the chamfer the corner tool. Like if you have a point, you can just click it and drag to round it however you want your radius to be. On any point, you can just be like, you can just click and drag, and then it's undoable. Like you can reset it if you don't want it anymore. So there's like a history with each point, and
I'll have to check that out.
really slick tools that like actually, if you're an illustrator, like not just a graphic designer, but like you're drawing, characters and graphics in Illustrator, then these are helpful.
Illustrator's built in. The way it handles its vector corners is you've got three options, like a perfect circle, rounded corner, perfectly out straight, so you've got a really like pointy corner that'll create this long jagged line, right? Or it gets lopped off at a certain point. You've got like.
Are you talking about strokes?
Yeah. The stroke on something.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that this is like a around the corner filter where it's like taking your points and literally shifting the vector.
Imagine if you can round corner on any point you wanted, not on
an individual point, not the whole thing.
any individual point. It's kind of like how when the variable width stroke tool was introduced, it was like it completely changed Illustrator from that point. Like that's such a huge tool, which I'd say I'm thankful for the variable width stroke tool.
I do. I
don't think that came out last
still.
year, or this year, but
no, it was a year and maybe 2 years ago, but.
All right, Bryan. Now you said you haven't been doing design, but you've got some web development resources that you use.
Well, let's keep with design because I think that's going to tie into another category that you had, and
okay.
Basically one of the things that really hurt a lot of people was when Google Reader collapsed when they ended support this year. So a lot of us were struggling to find something to kind of curate that content and keep getting like inspirational posts and design resources and whatnot. Feedly is something that really started to take take shape, and they really have taken over that industry, that RSS, you know, the aggregation, and just displaying it in a way that, you know, they are showing like your design resource or your website design, or, you know, whatever you're looking at in such an awesome way. And that's, you know, cross
Right.
browser. They have multiple apps out. So I think that's something we should also talk about, is like how we are really you know, bringing in that content. How are we reading it? How are we looking around? So Feedly is it for me. That's what I use.
I love Feedly, and then I also love Pocket, which is formerly Read It Later. But any article that I'm reading on the web that I just don't really have time to read it now, I just click Add to Pocket, and then now it's available on my device. And it's interesting because it formats it in a way that's a lot easier to read than like what the article was formatted on the person's website, you know, or that you're reading it on. There's no ads on it or anything. So it's almost like a preferred way to read an article, and then it keeps track of where you left off in the article too. So if you navigate away from it, next time you visit it, it shows you where you left off, and then you can just click the check mark, and then it keeps an archive of every article that you've saved or read. Even YouTube videos show up right in the app. And then now they've released this new thing called Highlights, which is supposed to, you know, when you've got a ton of stuff saved in your pocket, so you've got hundreds of articles in there that you've assigned to yourself you want to read later. Sometimes they're just listed in chronological order, but they've established this new thing that's supposed to help you find the right content by showing you these are the popular articles that or the most like eye-catching ones, or the ones you are trending or something like that. I don't have enough articles saved in order to activate that feature. I think I need more time with it. It's a new feature, but I've been using that quite a bit. And with Feedly too, it's like you get to the point when you subscribe to so many blogs that like you just kind of get overwhelmed, especially. But one of the things I do subscribe to is Sidebar, sidebar.io. It's like the 5 best design links every day. It's kind of curated by
I've seen that,
by the person who made the site, but it's like when you don't have time to surf like all the design blogs, you can kind of just go get a glimpse of like some cutting edge kind of trending content and design. Maybe somebody released a new app that's like really cool. It's going to be helping you in your productivity, or someone wrote a controversial article about like something design related that we should be paying attention to. So sidebar.io, I'm thankful for. I really dig that one.
Yeah. Along that same line of thought, Feedly also has the save for later feature, so you can kind of bookmark it and then it goes into its own folder. I haven't really played a lot with that as far as like looking at my saved list, but I've also taken advantage of a service called If This Then That, IFTT.com or IFTTT.com, something like that. We'll have this link in the show notes. But what I did was I set up a recipe so that anytime that I saved something, it will automatically email that whole story to me. So it'll email the story and it puts like a little label at the beginning, read this kind of thing. So then it just goes into my email. Now that Gmail has divided everything up, and you've got like your main inbox, but then you've also got your promotions and stuff like this. It puts it in like an updates folder for me, so I can easily go in there whenever I want to go back and make sure I read something. So that's kind of like a built-in functionality with Feedly. But yeah, they also have the partnership with Pocket and a few other services like that.
Yeah, I've used If This Then That too with Pocket for YouTube. Like whenever I add something to my Watch Later on YouTube, it gets put into Pocket under Read Later or Watch Later too. And along the same lines, Buffer is another thing that I've used a lot this year that I'm thankful for. It's for whenever I read a good article or whatever I want to share it, I can just use Buffer, and it hooks up into all of my social media accounts, and it is basically like a queue for stuff that you wanted to share, but you don't want to share it all at once, or like maybe right now is not the ideal time. You can just click Add to My Buffer, cool article, and then when in each of your social media profiles has a schedule, maybe you want to post 2 times a day, 3 times a day, it'll fit it into your schedule. So you keep adding stuff to your buffer of cool stuff that you want to share, and you can post to all of your social profiles simultaneously with it. And Feedly has Buffer implementation, so right from a Feedly article, you can just click Buffer it if you like it. Same thing with I'm not sure if Pocket has Buffer integration, but but that's another cool one too. Especially when we scheduled out with Buffer all the WMC Fest promotion, so much of it when we were releasing a ton of content. Like we were doing feature articles about different speakers and bands, and we wanted to make sure those got broadcast out to our social media channels. And the scheduling feature of Buffer really came in handy.
Yeah, I also use it a lot for some of my other small projects that I do. It's great. It also comes with like a built-in scheduling thing. So as far as like on Twitter and Facebook, it'll tie into their API to see when your followers are online. So you know to send out a tweet that someone's going to be able to read. That's going to reach the most people. So
yeah, that's pretty advanced.
Yeah. So from like a personal standpoint, yeah, it's nice to be able to tweet. And not bombard, your followers with link after link after link. You can still be personal throughout the day, but still share like this information you want to share. But it's also good for the business side. The business side is probably doing similar things where it's linking back to like the zine. That's something that we would use Buffer for, so that throughout the day it goes to each different thing. So.
Right.
And that is a free app, but there's also a premium version, so you can add multiple accounts, and you can schedule as many things as you want. I think I'm just using the free version myself.
Yeah. And Bill, do you have any? Do you use anything like that, or?
I use a bookshelf. This is not an app. This is a physical piece of furniture. I walk up to it and reach out, and I have such a long list of books, and every time I talk to someone and they, say, hey, this is a great book, I tend to instantly go onto Amazon and buy it, and then it sits on my shelf until I can get to it.
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time reading online articles. I mean, definitely things grab my attention. I'm a member of various groups on LinkedIn, so I'm constantly getting LinkedIn, emails with like, here, interesting articles you might want to read. Twitter's, people will recommend reading on Twitter, and every now and then something will grab my attention. But in terms of just like gathering fresh new information, this year, anyways, I've been doing a lot more sort of peer network groups where we're sitting down and sharing business stories and swapping ideas for what books to read, and that's where I spend a lot of my new information gathering, is just in reading books. We also have a library here at GoMedia. We keep like Wallpaper Magazine and about once a day I go sit in the library and read an article or two.
You mean, well, there's a library here, but then there's the private reading room.
Sorry, the private reading room is where I go and read, where we have some reading materials.
And so what you're saying, Bill, is real life people and interaction and books are the new thing.
Well,
in 2013.
Well, they're not new at all to me, but you asked what I'm using.
Well, just clarify. Are you talking physical books or e-books? Like
physical books.
Wow.
I way prefer like, I tried a virtual book. Had a big headset thing on, and digitally I could see the pages turning and everything. But the book itself was much fun, more fun to read.
What kind of device are you using? It sounds like an e-book from the 90s or something. But speaking of books, though, like most of my consumption of books is now done through audiobook, because I decided to get an Audible subscription this year, and it's not like Netflix where you pay $8 and you have unlimited access to everything. You pay $15 and have access to one book per month, and then if you want more, you get a discount on the book. It is kind of pricey, but if you read a lot, I mean, you are getting deals. You can use your credit. You have 1 credit per month, which you can use to buy a $50 audiobook or a $10 audiobook. So, I mean, you can kind of be judicious with how you spend it, but that's my preferred method. But the thing I like about it most is the Audible app for your mobile device. It's actually really good because it just saves your place, and you can listen to it at twice the speed if you want, or 3 times the speed if you want to get through it fast, if you don't mind like kind of a fast-talking, robotic kind of sounding voice. But that's been my preferred method of reading this year. So yeah, I'm thankful for that.
So is that a service that's basically like you're renting
Rhapsody
the
or
book?
something?
Well, no, you own it.
So you own the book.
You own the book in audio.
But you only get 1 book a month.
you can, if you want. You only get one book a month for with your credit.
Okay.
But you can buy as many books as you want at a member's discount.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of like the GameFly service, but
Oh,
with
really?
GameFly you pay monthly and then you get to rent as many games as you want, but you only have like one game out at a time kind of thing. So
Yeah. No, this one's good. You can have as many books as you want, as much as you have space for on your device.
I find that reading real physical books, there's some element of gamification going on because the thickness of the book is like a progress bar. So as you're reading, you can like see how much you're through it. Where if you read a digital book, you're just scrolling and like.
That's not how it is, Bill. There's
Not only
pages.
that,
There's
but
real
then like
pages.
when
Real
you
digital
finish
pages.
when you finish the book too, then you've got like this prize. It's like a trophy almost. Like, and this is true. Like, I'm proud of the fact that I read books. It's kind of dumb, but I wasn't like an academiac. I didn't like wasn't like a straight A student or anything like that. Wasn't on honor roll. So I feel good knowing that I have found a subject matter that I really enjoy reading, and that I'm reading these books. And so my bookshelves are almost like big trophy cases to me. They're like, look at all these books I've read. Woohoo! Like,
Sure, yeah. Well, actually, Audible does have unlock. You can win badges for reading. So,
Oh yeah.
I've got the marathoner. I just unlocked the marathoner
You get like
badge.
free Indians tickets if you read like 3 books.
I don't think you get
during the course
anything
of the
real.
summer.
I think you just get to fill up your virtual trophy case. So.
Mhm.
yeah, there's another service that's like that it's basically a social network, but it's for reading books. So reading books and talking about them and sharing them.
Goodreads.
Goodreads, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it is. So do you have a Goodreads account?
I don't.
You should do that.
You can
So
talk
it's just like
about
an area to talk about the books after you've got done reading them.
Yeah, you add your books to your like read collection or your currently reading collection, and you can rate them and review them, and then talk about them.
Yeah. Speaking of books in the live chat, this is from Angry City. Stephen Pressfield, War of Art. He says that's a good book.
It is. I've read that one. It does come highly recommended from a lot of different sources too.
It's that a playoff of the Art of War?
Most likely. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well.
I'm assuming that's a business book?
It's like a lifestyle, like the lifestyle of a creative person type of a book.
Okay.
The war of being a creative person. The struggles that you go through. Your biggest enemy is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Cool.
So and once again, if you're in the live chat, feel free to just throw suggestions of things that that has inspired you this year, or that you're using services like that, and we'll bring it into the conversation.
Speaking of books,
Yes.
I discovered this amazing book. It's called Drawn to Business. It's transformed the way that I run this company.
Oh, has it?
Sorry, I had to make that plug.
All right, so basically design resources that we've been looking at, how we're reading them, how we're accessing that, physical books, because some people still do that. Let's talk about other ways, like maybe collaboration. What are things that you've been using lately to collaborate with other people?
Well, Dropbox. I mean, that's a staple, and it's a staple application that I've used for several years now. It's just, and people just keep using it more and more. I use it with my band. I use it. Well, that's really the only other collaborative element I use it with. And if I share links to friends and stuff of a file, it's just like share the Dropbox link. It can't get any easier. But we don't really use it here at GoMedia as like a tool, to share stuff, because we're already hooked up on a server that's just easy to share stuff with. We do use Hightail, formerly Usendit, to send large files to clients. But
yeah, and we do have a few clients that do send us Dropbox links. I use Dropbox personally. This year is when I really started using it as a collaboration tool. But again, not for work-related stuff, but music for a band. Also, the other podcast I'm in, we share files that way as well. But I really use it to transfer files from one computer to another.
Yeah.
So, like if I'm working on something here on a design file, or really like the audio files for the podcast, I'll have a work Audacity file that I save into Dropbox. That way, if I have to edit at home or I edit here, I always have access to it.
Now, one item on my list was the VPN, which we just set up. Have you started playing with that and using that?
Yeah. So this is not really new technology, but new to us. VPN. We finally got that set up here. I have used it. It's been great. as far as being able to access all the design files. So just so you guys are aware how we're kind of set up, we've got basically a shared drive for pretty much every single design file, as well as
Product file, every
Yeah.
GoMedia file. We really discourage people from saving anything on their local machines, because if it's business related in any way, at some point someone else is going to need to have access to it, and if it's on your local machine, forget about it. GoMedia breaks down, systematically. So
yeah. So as far as that goes, I love being able to access that at home. It saves me from having to, use my Dropbox space for that, because that's used to be what I would do.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, VPN is just a quick way to access, your work stuff or whatever remotely from home. I was using Log Me In,
That was yeah.
kind of a pain, just because you had to have it running on your computer at all times, and I had to leave my computer on. So if I went home and I needed to get something from the server at work, I had to install Log Me In and then access it and then just copy it over, as if I was secretly hacking into my work computer. It was all right, but VPN is the way to go. I haven't got a chance to use it yet, but it'll definitely help me.
set it up on my laptop at home and ran some experiments just
Pretty
to
good?
see. Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
I mean,
Yeah, it's just
obviously it's
as if
downloading
you are connected.
files. But the files are downloading through the internet. So you've got big files. It's a little slow.
Mhm.
If it's a Word doc or something, you probably won't even notice. But
Sure.
big design files are a little slow. But again, compared to driving into the office or sitting there watching TV waiting for my file to download, I'll sit on my couch and wait for my file to download.
Right.
But the VPN does seem to be faster access to those files than, say, a Dropbox or uSender or any other way of downloading those types of files.
Yeah, you've eliminated all the steps you've got to take of putting it somewhere and then going and retrieving it. It's there. I mapped the drives right to my laptop, so they just show up right in my list of hard drives, and yeah, it's great.
Now, and that's how we're sharing, basically design files, and assets and photos and stuff like that. But we don't necessarily use the VPN all the time for documents and PDFs. Instead, what we've been using is Google Drive. So we've got basically a shared account that we all have our personal accounts that connect to this main account that holds all these files. So like proposals and notes as far as how to edit a site. That way we can all see everything, access everything. And the other great thing about Google Docs, which is what we actually use to do the show notes for the podcast, is we can collaborate. So we can all be in there and editing at the same time, and that's been fantastic. So it's not new. It's new to us as far as GoMedia using it, for business related things.
I totally second Bryan on this. I was actually planning on scooping Bryan after I saw him put it on his list. I'm like, I'm stealing that one because it has been huge. It's been huge for me. I mean, for us to be able to jump into Google Docs, instantly create something that I can access from anywhere. I mean, I use it so much now. Like, it's amazing. Like, my use last year of Google Docs was probably like near zero, and now I feel like every single day I'm in there using it for stuff. It feels like a lot of those company system files and prepping for sales stuff or whatever it is now, all of our metrics, all of our financials, like all of this stuff is migrating. We're spending more and more time building out this huge Google Docs, Google Drive, where our files are living more and more on the web, and it's so nice to be able to access it.
Yeah, it's like we're getting more into the Google ecosystem, although our email is still with Exchange, Microsoft Exchange, which we pay for, and we have to use Outlook, which is kind of sucks in a way. I mean, Outlook's all right, but there's been problems when we're trying to collaborate with each other through Google, and we have some employees that aren't like in the company email address system. They have their own preferred email method. Like
we've started to talk about switching the whole staff over to Google addresses, but
yeah.
I'm
you still have GoMedia. You still have GoMedia.us.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could use Gmail or whatever email app system you want, because most of the ones that come out work with Gmail, but they don't work with Exchange.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing, because like Exchange right now, I mean, you either have to have Outlook, or you have to have a device that will hook into it. So luckily, my Android does hook into it, but That's like a relatively recent thing. Before it was like extremely difficult to get it to work right and send properly. So, but moving to a web, you can be on any device and be able to send. And I think that'd be a great move. But yeah, we just set up. It wouldn't be, instead of using our personal accounts, our personal Gmail accounts to get into drives, we would instead use whatever our account is at gomedia.us.
Yeah, so that's something we might be talking about next year.
Yeah.
For 2014.
So somewhat related to Google Drive is software that our sales team uses called DocsFlow. And what DocsFlow is it allows you to connect InDesign files with Google Doc files. So when we're writing a proposal now, Wilson and Lauren and Sandra and I or whoever can all be in one Google Doc, just filling out this Google Doc, and then all that information is instantly transferred right into the InDesign file and populates our proposals. So where if we were just working in InDesign, we'd have to take turns passing the file around. Right. We can actually just work in Google DocsFlow and Google Docs and collaborate, and it spits out a proposal for us, and all neatly designed in InDesign. And that's something that Wilson had to kick our asses to use. We kept pushing back, and we're like, it seems confusing, and I don't want it. But I think after he got Lauren in there on a regular basis using it, she just got used to it, and finally said, "This is good. This is better than."
Yeah, that's cool because the point of having using InDesign is because you want to have a your own custom designed presentation to the client, with your logo and your colors and your right fonts. If you're in Google Docs, I mean, it seems unprofessional to send someone a Google Doc as your official company.
Well, you can save. I mean, you can save it as a PDF, but you just don't have the flexibility or the the tools to really make it your own. It's.
And we had made the attempt to customize a Word doc and a Google Doc to try and make it look like our proposals. We spent a long time trying to make that look to work, and it just didn't look. You just didn't have the controls you needed.
So what other collaboration tools? I mean, of course we use ProofLab here at GoMedia, but no one else can use ProofLab because we took it off the shelf as far as public is concerned. That's a decision we made because it just required so much development time that we were running out of time, running out of money to do it, and we couldn't really get it public ready to our standards. It was buggy. We had it open for a few users, and it wasn't working out. We didn't see that there was much of promise in opening it for the public. But we as GoMedia still use it on a regular basis. It's how we manage all our projects and our clients. And instead of using a service like Basecamp, which we still use, I still use that for some stuff. But for as far as our clients are concerned.
And Sarah, who is our primary project manager, is like she mentioned this the other day that she's like I don't know how I could live without ProofLab. So we've obviously indoctrinated her, and she feels like it's a really good tool. So
no, it's made for GoMedia.
Yeah,
that's the thing about it is other people use it and their workflow is different, and it's not a white label thing like Basecamp where it can fit into anybody's workflow, and you kind of have to work. You can make it. You can't really make ProofLab work how you want.
I think we might have. I think we might have continued to pursue its development and deployment to the public if the beta had given us any sort of traction, but we saw very little traction when it was in beta. We just weren't seeing people adopting it, so I think that swayed us. And so when that was happening along with problems cropping up, it was just sort of like, all right, kill it.
Yeah. Very sad too, because it was like several years of our time, like hoping that this thing was going to be good, which taught us very, very good lessons. So,
I was just thinking back recently, the past couple of days, about how many times we've done that, made huge investments into something, and poured years and piles of money into getting something built, and totally flops, and you're just like.
Yeah,
definitely. I've shifted to the little bets mentality. I mean, I think I've been aware of it for a while, but any new, let's try this. I'm gonna be like, all right, what can we build and deploy in 3 months for $1,000? That's the starting point,
Yeah. There's a reason why that the little bets / lean startup model, minimum viable product model is taken off because so many people have that problem of investing so much time and resources building this dream product that they think is going to be a big seller, and then when it comes out, it doesn't sell, or perhaps it took too long to develop and you're already behind the times when it's released. I mean, the demand that you answered when you started it probably might not even exist when you finish it. So that's why you have to act quick. But so that's another book I would recommend too, The Lean Startup, for if you haven't read that one yet. Or what's the other one? Little Bets, Small Bets?
Little Bets.
All right. As far as other things, as far as collaboration goes, the live chat is talking about Evernote. There's some people using Evernote to make notes to each other to work on task lists and that sort of thing.
I felt that was a huge tool when I was actually developing ProofLab, strangely enough, because it was such a big thing that required so much organization and so many different layers that Evernote was really great at providing me a way to tier pages and pages of a document and format them differently and embed different assets and elements of things. So I thought Evernote was really good.
And along those productivity tools, OmniFocus, which is a to-do management app, it's really pretty much full featured based on the getting things done workflow. That's really popular, and
sure.
It's only for Apple products though. You can't get it for Windows, unfortunately, and I don't think they have any plans on releasing a Windows version, which kind of stinks. But if you do use Apple products, it's really good. It's pricey. It's like $60 or $30 or something like that if you just buy it for your mobile device. But it saved my butt working on WMC Fest last year. I mean, all the to-dos that I had to do with that is organizing projects and into it. Once you adapt into that workflow mentality, it's really smooth sailing and it's really good. And I know a lot of people like OmniFocus that are in that Getting Things Done community, or 43 folders if you are a fan of that blog. It's really good too. But another to-do app that I used to use was To-Do, with TEUX, DEUX, if that's how you spell it. See, it's a terrible name when you say that, and then you have to just spell it, and then you can't even spell it right.
Yeah, as far as task lists go for me, I was a big Post-it note guy for a long time. I would just always have Post-it notes on the side of my monitor. I had a notebook last year that's what I was using a lot. This year, I've been a heavy Chrome user, and because of that, I've been a heavy Google user. So they recently, and by recently I want to say like spring or early summer, they released an app called I can't even think of what it's. Keep. It's called Keep. Right. So it's like a personal task list, and there's a Chrome plugin that basically makes a little panel on the side of your screen, kind of thing. So I've been using that a lot. Unfortunately, though, the issue that I have with it is I can't really collaborate with those lists. So I can't send a list and have someone else open it up and keep. It doesn't work like that. But it is cross-device, so I have an Android phone, so I can pull it up on my phone, add stuff to it. When I'm sitting at my computer, I can then access all that information. So that's my to-do list of choice.
I still use Outlook's tasks because so many of my to-dos are associated with emails that I've received that it's great to be able to just flag it and bam, it's there in my to-do list. So
yeah, I do use Outlook in that fashion where you can flag an email. I do that all the time, but for me, I like to be a little bit more detailed. So I'll write out like specific line items that I have to do, I have to accomplish. So
yeah, I add to-dos in my tasks, and I've got like 3 different priority levels that I put them in. But
it always seems like no matter what digital app I'm using, I always have like the scratch piece of paper for like today's important things, or like something I just don't want to have to get out my phone or whatever. It's just like
this is more
scribble it down.
Process oriented, but so everyone here at Go Media logs their times. We can sort of track what the heck we're doing, and I didn't like having to go in on a hour by hour, day by day basis and log my time. So I started using my calendar as my hour logging tool. So I'm literally, as I'm going through my day, I'm mapping out where I'm spending my time each day, and then at the end of a week or at the end of the month, I go through the entire month and jot down the hours that were allotted for each of the different things I do. So the calendar now has become my daily activity So not only am I putting in the calendar what I'm going to do that day, I'm actually marking the times that I'm going to be doing it. So I literally at the beginning of my day will map out, and I'll do this over the course of weeks. So if I know, like, okay, I got to get that done by Friday, I know it's going to take me 3 hours, I'll go into my calendar for tomorrow, and I'll put a 3-hour time block and put what I'm going to be doing during that time, that 3-hour time block. So now if you look at my calendar and go day by day, there's rarely a half an hour segment that's not full. So every single day my calendars are full like this because that's what I was doing every day all day long. And that seems to be a really good workflow for not only knowing that these are my tasks, this is what I'm going to do today, but actually being able to put time frames on each one of them so you know it's going to be 3 hours here, 2 hours there, and of course if I get done with that, I can just shrink up that block of time, and now I know I've got another hour there I get to fill in, so maybe I'll drag something to put it in there, or I'll just figure out what I need to do next.
Yeah, I would love to be that structured. But it seems like every day there's like something else that pops up that's last minute that I got to do. So then I got to move all, because I used to do something like very similar to that, where I would block out 3 hours for this project, and this is all I want to be working on. But then I would never be able to follow it because of all, last minute emails, or another project deadline has been moved up, or stuff like that. But I
am moving
like
things around on that. I mean, it's evolving as the day goes on because I am getting distracted and other things happening, and sometimes I'll pop into my calendar, look at it, and go, oh, I haven't touched that for the last half hour. I gotta change that. What do I actually do? Okay, let me put that in there.
A couple other apps that I've used that are in the productivity realm. One's called Freedom. I think it's a free app that just shuts off your internet for a time period. So if you really want to focus, you can turn it off, and you can't turn it back on unless you restart your computer. So you can do that.
That's really annoying.
Well,
like really wants to stop you from getting on the internet.
For people who are like they can't seem to like avoid that new email pops in, or like the instant messenger, or any other notification that you've got. It's just kind of a bothersome, especially if you get a lot of them. So you really want to have some, okay, I need to get away and force myself to focus.
I feel like there was some article in
pretty forgiving, pretty
Sports
nice.
Illustrated or something recently that talked about how LeBron James basically got rid of his phone and turned off his internet for 3 straight months and just read books for like 3 months. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's seems like a great idea.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
Nah. I'm too attached to everything.
'Cause all the books are on my phone, so I don't know what I do. No, actually, I don't really like reading ebooks that much on my phone. So I have a few. It seems like I've got a few physical books I'm reading, a few digital ebooks I'm reading, and a few audio books I'm reading, all simultaneously. And it just kind of depends on where I'm sitting in the house. It's like, oh, pick it up. Another app that I like is Focus Booster. This is for Windows. I think they might have one for Mac too. It's just like a very simple app that you turn it on, and then it has like a countdown timer, and it's like really big on your screen, like 10 minutes, and you give yourself 10 minutes, and you actually, if you have your headphones in, it's literally making a tick 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 sound, and you've got a progress bar that starts off green, and then as it gets lower and lower and lower, so there's a visual representation of how much time you have left, and then it gets progressively more red towards the end. And so and then like when it's over, like your screen shakes, it's like, and you have a buzzer and everything like that. It's just what they call the Pomodoro technique. Is like, you give yourself 10 minutes, you imply the sense of urgency on yourself. Otherwise, or you can say like, I've got 8 hours to do this task, so I'll just take 8 hours to do the task. Or you can say, well, I know I can get it done in 10 minutes, or whatever it is. And then you're supposed to get up and take a break, and then come back, do 15 more minutes of really focused work. Take a break. But the first time I ignore it, then I'm just like, well, I don't have to follow this timer. And it's just like...
it usually goes like in sets. So I was doing that for the longest time too, because, the way I used to work, and I've started to work again, is that I work like from the time that I sit down in the morning to lunchtime. And then and my lunchtime is usually like, that's like my reward for working as hard as I was. So I'll end up like not eating until like 2 or 3 just to make sure I get everything done. I wanted to get away from that, so I started doing that technique. But it was just hard. I was always like in the middle of something when that timer went off.
Yeah. Well, because you're not on a task that generally. You're not doing a project that takes 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So this little app only gives you 10 minutes at a time?
You can set it for whatever.
Yeah, you can set it for whatever.
But the Pomodoro method is short bursts and breaks.
I feel like I've always employed that as a mental trick to get myself to get more stuff done, and that sometimes too. I think we've talked about this in the past, but sometimes having too much time makes you a worse designer because you're
It does.
overthinking everything. So, I have definitely been in a place where I'm working on a design and I'm like, I just can't decide what I want to do, and I'm just kind of struggling, and I'm in that sort of like designer's block mode, and I'll go, all right, Bill, this project should take 6 hours. I'm giving myself 2 hours. And by only giving myself 2 hours, I'm like, crap, I got to fly through this. And then I have to turn my brain off. I can't think about it because I've only got 2 hours to get the whole thing done.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I get it done crappily in those 2 hours, by the time I'm done, I realize what I need to do to fix it to make it good. So the
Right.
speed has sort of allowed me to turn my brain off and get somewhere. So, and I'll use that for jogging too, just in terms of like giving myself intervals. So if I'm jogging and I'm not running very fast and I'm just lack of motivation or whatever, I'll pick some spot off in the distance and be like, all right, I gotta kick it up until I reach that tree down the path, and like really push myself hard. And then once I hit that tree, then I'll go back to like a regular slow jogging pace,
Sure.
and I'll sort of just oscillate like that.
All right, well, let's talk about writing. Right now in the live chat, Angry City is talking about OMM Writer, as far as like that's a tool to it's like a distraction-free writer where you can sit down and write and not have to be distracted by everything else. So sort of like what you're talking about, where it just takes the internet off. This is just an app. If you're on your iPad or you're on your desktop, you can use it.
Yeah.
So what do you guys use for writing? What do you like? Where do you write the most?
Well, I've used. It seems like when I was blogging, Squarespace has a feature of full screen mode that shuts off everything, so you can, and it works a lot like that too. And same thing with Day One, which is I do my journaling in, and you go full screen and just have just the white space to type in, and it is pretty liberating just to have that. You don't have like a whole thousands of menus that like Microsoft Word would give you, and you kind of have all these different choices to make, and when you just want to write, and WordPress has a full screen thing too. But when I'm using Google Drive, I don't do a full screen, but they're pretty minimal in Google Drive.
Yeah, they're pretty much full screen by default.
I do almost all my writing in Google Drive now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, myself as well. I if I'm not writing in WordPress for whatever I'm doing, I'm writing in Google Drive. Just because, again, it's available regardless of what device I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
I do find myself writing on my phone a lot, so there's that. I ended up picking up a keyboard for my
Writing
my
on your
tablet.
phone.
Yeah.
Writing what on your phone? Text messages?
No, like actual like show notes, stuff like that. Just list items that I need to remember that I can expound upon.
Little stuff though. You wouldn't sit down and write a blog article.
I have written a blog article.
God.
On it.
I find it so annoying to type on my phone. Like I'm
yeah.
just not fast enough.
I wrote a couple blog articles for this other project that I work on while I was on an airplane using Google Drive. So
Yeah, and there's the new blogging platform Ghost that's out that I really want to try. I'm waiting for it to open up to hosted solution so I can just sign up for a blog and start typing. But the writing format on Ghost is really nice too.
real quick, I gotta show you this. They're saying that this guy is your doppelganger, Zach Levy.
I don't know who that is.
I'm not sure who he is either.
Cool.
Thanks to live chat for that. All right, so yeah, I think I'm the same way as far as how I write. But I definitely think I spend most of my time in WordPress because that's usually where I'm going to be publishing what I'm working on.
Yeah, I'm not writing anything else other than blog articles, so it's kind of like, well, when I was writing Threads Not Dead, I was using, well, at that time, that was several years ago, so there wasn't Google Drive. I was using just Microsoft Word.
Sure.
And that was.
Yeah, I started my book in Word and switched over to Drive because.
Isn't it funny? Like I've used Microsoft Word. You feel like you're using some antiquated piece of software. It's like not very like. Not proud to say it.
Yeah, I feel the same way with LibreOffice, which used to be OpenOffice. it's nice to have like a physical program to open up to be able to do your writing in, but the fact that your computer can just shut off or your hard drive can crash. I love the security of just having it online.
Though I'm always thrown off by the fact that I don't have a save button anymore on Google Drive. I want to click save.
You can still do the Control S. And that'll
Can you?
force
Or did
it.
that
Yeah,
work? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that'll force it to
I mean, I just look for the little notice that it has at the top of the page, like all
Save.
new editions have been saved. I'm like, okay, sweet.
Yeah. That always scares me too, because I find a lot of apps kind of doing that now. You just like there's no save button. You just check the box and it's checked, and you just
Well,
close the window.
InDesign has got autosave now. I don't know when they introduced it, but you still have to manually save Photoshop and Illustrator, and I've had InDesign crash a couple of times, and I was like, 2 hours of work gone, and I open it
about,
up
like,
and
Final Cut?
everything's still there. I'm like, sweet.
Final Cut, there's no save.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of the save, but they
That seems crazy in
Yeah.
like a program like Final Cut. But what is there unlimited undo? Like you can just go back to any point,
I have
or
no
you're
idea.
just there at the current spot you're at.
I think there's no way that those files can maintain all of those,
No way.
the history infinitely, but it's a lot though.
Yeah. It
So-
is, and I don't understand why they would get rid of a feature like save. Like, is that what users are demanding? Like, I don't want that feeling of saving my work anymore. It should just be auto-saved constantly. That just seems funny. I don't know, but apparently they thought it was a good idea.
All right. Well, do we want to take this moment to take a break?
Yeah, I think it's a good time to take a break.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about the development. I've got some development tools that I've been using. Also, some stuff that we use for the podcast. So stay tuned for that. But right now, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to pause the audio, video. But when we come back, we're going to be talking to Chris Camella from onthemapclee.com. And then we'll be right back into our normal conversation.
Cool.
then year 2 was kind of like, hey, we can do this. Let's make it better. So it was a refined version of year 1, more stories about how businesses get started. And now year 3, to me, is a big step forward. And really, in my mind, that's because of the new content type. So instead of going to the website and seeing a bunch of videos that are focused on a specific small business and how they got started, some of the new content types are more broad and general, more about capturing the culture and flavor of Cleveland, which is a pretty, like, I don't know, hot topic in Cleveland. Like, so many different people like to assign, like, a persona. You know what I mean? Like, what exactly our city is like. I don't know. I think it's kind of silly. Like, it's I'd rather just show people things that are happening here and let people decide for themselves. So really, that's what On the Map CLE.com is turning into. It's like a place where you can go to learn more about your favorite businesses, or people who don't live in Cleveland or have ever been there. They can go to this site to learn more about it for themselves, just on a kind of taste and cultural level as well. So.
Yeah, like it's like for people who are into documentary film, I think it's just little vignettes of real people like doing work, you know, creative people doing work in their own thing, and the questions that you ask, the stories that you tell. I think it's relevant. People can find a little piece of themselves in it, even if they're not from Cleveland. But perhaps they might be inspired to look a little closer at the small businesses that are in their city,
Right.
that they probably otherwise are ignoring. Maybe they're used to eating at the same types of restaurants that they always do, but like they haven't been paying attention. So what we're doing is we're shining a light on some of the hidden spots, hidden things, and even some of the obvious ones that people take for granted. Like this year we're at the Cleveland Botanical Gardens. Like people have known about that, but no one knows like behind the scenes in the day in the life of like the people who operate it. Like what is it personally to be like them? I'm fascinated by stories like that. So I mean I can't wait to see the next series. And when do we get to see it?
Sure, yeah. December 6th is our debut screening. So that'll be happening in the Go Media Studios, and in the days after the event, we'll be getting the new videos on the website. So, yeah, you pretty much nailed it right on the head, though, Jeff. Like, with the previous videos, it was almost educational, and you get to hear these people's stories about how they started their own business, and you really can relate to them. It's a cool thing to do. And then these new videos, introducing new content types, it's just going to round out the experience a little bit more. So instead of like listening to someone's story about the steps they took to open their business, it might be something like what I'm calling like a neighborhood portrait. So like the Cleveland neighborhoods, they're kind of like their own little islands. That's the thing about Cleveland. You've got all these different pockets, and really the video tries to encapsulate like the flavor of that neighborhood and just show it. And there's no interviews. It's just like this short little movie about the neighborhood. So I think you guys will find little bits and pieces that make these new videos really cool to watch, and it'll be really nice to have a collection of different video types. So I'm excited for you guys to see it.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's also a Facebook event, so you can find On the Map CLE on Facebook. Join the event, and definitely come out and check out these videos. They are really, really inspiring.
Yeah, guys, hope to see you out.
Okay, cool. Send Bill back.
Thanks, Chris.
I'm gonna go get Bill.
All right, so we're going to take another quick break. It'll be about a minute, but bear with us. And then we're going to be recording probably for another half hour or so. I think that'll take care of everything we're going to do. So stay tuned and listen to some music that hopefully is not metal. Sorry again.
Play what you got, Bryan.
the music. I know it's kind of loud. Really, you guys were not hearing the music. That's weird.
So loud.
Yeah, it was loud on my end. All right, no problem. We are back though, so if you are in the live chat, let us know if you are hearing us. You should be. It looks like we're on. So. All right.
So where should we leave off at? I mean, I've got some blogs that I've been reading.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, just to recap where we left off. I mean, we're talking about things that we're using for collaboration, how we are digesting, our RSS feeds and our design inspiration stuff. How we are sharing that information as well, like on Buffer and,
And as we headed into the break, you said you were going to start talking about developmental stuff. So
Yeah. Well, I can start with that.
Well, there was a question in live chat about Dribble.
Oh, yeah, AJ in the live chat wanted to talk about Dribble. Dribble is something he uses for design inspiration. I'm still using it. I still take a look. I know Simon is posting stuff all the time. He actually posted something yesterday, which is really cool to see. But yeah, it's great as far as being able to see what all kinds of different designers are doing. Not only for illustrations, but also typography and web designs and app designs and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, Dribble is still a good source of design inspiration. The conversations on it haven't been as good as they used to be.
Not really. But what I've noticed too is Dribble is becoming a place for free resources like icons.
Yes.
You can just go to Dribble and search icons, download, or PSD or something like that, and people who design these little icon sets give them away for free, or a font, or some new resource. So there's some hidden gems in there that you might not find elsewhere. But other places, I like to go for inspiration. I still sometimes search design inspiration or Found or Pinterest, for just like some, styles of posters or illustration or whatever. If I'm looking for it, I still use those sites. But what do you do for inspiration? Like when you're for design inspiration specifically?
I open a book.
Comic books still.
Drawn to
business?
And this isn't new at all, but DeviantArt has become sort of because I just don't go to comic book shops anymore, but DeviantArt has so much of that comic book style fan art on it that that's where I go. That's where I go when I need a real boost for doing something fun and cool and different. Yeah.
Yeah, DeviantArt's surprising. Like we still post some updates on our DeviantArt profile. So GoMedia has one. We've been on there for several years. But it's interesting because I thought that like DeviantArt doesn't really seem to matter in the graphic design community more like as much as Dribble does. But I did a quick search on Google Trends, for DeviantArt, and they continue to rise up. They've never dropped. They continue to get more and more popular. I
think they have fiercely loyal users.
Yeah, they do.
It is absolutely focused on illustration way more than design. I mean, it's an illustration-focused website, but it's just in my particular perspective, it's just cool freaking shit, man. I love it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's the trendy thing. No one really talks about DeviantArt a whole lot, but yeah, there's just I look at it as well. So
I find a lot of stock imagery on DeviantArt actually for some original, you're not surfing iStock or whatever, but you're getting
use people's
they
imagery?
have a stock section. Like
really?
Individual users can post work for stock.
And what is the stock? I mean, where do the prices land
free.
about?
It's all
really?
It's all free. They have terms. Each individual is like, credit me if you use it, or like, no commercial use or whatever. So you got to watch that and respect their personal rules for their stock.
I've never explored that part of the site.
But I use it especially for like model references, poses, or the funny thing about DeviantArt is it's kind of like a lot of fantasy. Like, so you can, if you want to find like witches and warlocks and crazy things like that, or you can get influences from there. People definitely like to costume up, and then you can find like inspiration if you're drawing a character or whatever. Good stuff. Other stuff that Well, some blogs. I've been a big fan of Think Traffic, which now has changed their name to the Sparkline. I think.
Yes.
Fizzle is the name of the business that they started. Fizzle Co. They have a podcast, the Fizzle Podcast. Really inspiring, authentic business, like modern sort of blogging business that's geared towards creatives and creative entrepreneurs. Everything that they seem to do with their website is like everything I want to be doing with our website, with our Go Media Zine and our products and stuff. They're like Tom Ross, who runs Design Cuts. He's a Fizzle member. He posts actively on their forum, and so it's like, and their podcast. These people, they've got a lot of experience running like how to make blogs successful and online business successful, and so I've just found so many inspiring articles, that they've written, and I'm like, man, these guys seem to be doing it in a non-spammy way. Like so much of online marketing is kind of spammy, but I love the way they carry themselves. So that's been an inspiring read for me and business to follow. Like I'd love to take some more steps in that direction. And Nathan Barry too. He's another guy that I've discovered. He wrote a few books. One of them is called Authority, which is about how to build yourself as an authority through writing blogs and writing ebooks. And he's one of those kind of guys that's super honest and transparent with his readers, and he posts like how much money he's making on his ebooks and how he got to it. And his big goal is to like make $30,000 in the next 3 months or something like that. And he's going to post exactly his process and how he's doing it, and if he succeeds or fails. So he shares everything, and he also developed ConvertKit, which I use for some of our forums, to get people to sign up on our email newsletters. And so like I love his writing style and everything that he posts about. Bryan, or Bill, have you been in any new blogs this year?
New blogs, not really.
What about new inspirations, like people, businesses, or like people out in the field that have come across your radar this year that you're thankful to have seen or known about?
I think if we're talking about inspiration, inspired me to do things a certain way. Adventures in Design, that podcast really kind of kicked me and motivated me into doing what we're doing here. That and there's a few other podcasts like that. Also. New to me this year, it's a podcast about podcasting, the Audacity to Podcast. If you're into podcasting and learning how to do it and want like techniques, he's got an awesome blog about different tools he uses, and
awesome.
So I definitely use a lot of stuff that he has suggested.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where I've been getting new inspiration. So I guess that's a new blog.
Yeah,
for this year.
Right.
I know that Ted's been around for a while, but I've really become enamored with it this year. I would say it's the short of books that I'm reading. It's the one spot where I just love watching Ted videos and talks. It's just.
Do you have a favorite video or one you would recommend?
Well, I think I may have mentioned this, but recently I saw one where they were profiling quadcopters and the amazing things quadcopters can do. So I can't say that I recall what the name of the speaker was, but if you type in TED Talk quadcopter, I'm sure it's the only one. It's amazing what those things can do, and they were talking about the technology taking over for shipping. So imagine UPS has quadcopters just flying all over the U.S., and they just hover right down onto your front porch and drop the package off and fly off. Like no trucks flying or no trucks driving around anymore. Like.
Wow, that'd be crazy.
That would be awesome. They just go to land on a charger station, go pick up a package, fly, drop off the package, fly back to a charger station. There's a great video, and this is separate from this TED Talk, where there's a whole team of quadcopters, and they are flying through an opening, picking up bricks and building a structure. And they build this high tower. You gonna try and find it, Bryan?
No, I'm just looking for what a quadcopter is.
Oh yeah, quadcopter. It's like a little helicopter, except instead of one blade on top,
right,
it's got 4 blades, and they're highly maneuverable, and they use GPS tracking to be able to know exactly where they are. My brother just bought a quadcopter, so.
There was a company in New York that was using it for delivery service. It's called the Taco Copter, and that's what they did. And they just deliver tacos to apartment buildings and whatnot because a delivery person wouldn't have to walk up the stairs. They could just fly the
window.
copter to the window. Yeah. There was a company I think in San Francisco that was doing something similar. I want to say it was San Francisco.
Taco Copter. That's awesome.
The one. It was definitely in California, and it was called the Lobster Copter. But same thing, yeah.
They must be much more easier to control than any sort of radio-controlled copter.
Well,
I'm trying to imagine delivering a taco to somebody's
it's
room
not-
up to like 16 stories. It's like banging into the wall and
It's
dropping it.
completely computer controlled. They don't do anything.
Oh,
you know.
well, that's cool.
Yeah, no. They type in, it knows its altitude, its pitch, its speed. It's using a GPS to be able to track where it's at. I mean, these things are incredible.
Yeah,
Go Media quadcopter next year.
I mean, you could literally, on a consumer level, purchase one that you can program and watch, like on your computer screen, it follow a course that you map out for it with a GPS. So you could have it fly 10 miles off somewhere, drop something off, turn around, fly back to your apartment. Like, this is all.
And you can put a camera on there and spy on people,
Heck
right?
yeah. My brother's got a swimming pool in his apartment complex, and we were joking about delivering beers to people. Like, they'd be sitting there sunbathing, and
That'd
all of
be
a sudden
cool.
here comes this quadcopter, like, woo, like dropping down and handing them a beer, and yeah.
Yeah, that does ring a bell. I think part of the Taco Copter delivery instructions where you had to say like how big your balcony was and give them measurements and stuff so they knew like how to fly it in.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of work. You had to be like go out and measure your balcony and get the altitude of how high you're up off the ground and the latitude and longitude coordinates, like military style coordinates. You like,
But it's just
but
fun.
then you get your taco.
Yeah, then you get your
Yeah.
taco delivered by a helicopter, which is just cool.
But
What about while you're driving? Can you get like it's like the helicopter kind of comes up,
stuck in traffic?
even stuck in
They can
traffic.
deliver anywhere. That's the great thing.
I always dreamed about like you're on the road on the freeway and then you order and then the car comes up to you and then they put the little chute and it goes into your passenger side or whatever and just slides through like ice cream or pizza or whatever.
Like a taco cannon?
There's an entrepreneur out there right now jotting down notes.
That'd probably be a traffic hazard though.
Okay.
What else have we got? Gumroad I'm a big fan of this year. So if you don't know what Gumroad is, it's sell digital files and they handle the processing of the credit cards and the delivery of those files, and which is not a brand new idea, but these guys are doing it the best that I've seen yet, and it's the most easiest implementation. You literally create a product, upload file, copy paste the button on your website, and boom, you're selling stuff. So I'm a huge fan of that. We were using eJunkie and stuff to sell, like my book Thread's Not Dead. We were using eJunkie to sell Photoshop Action on our blog, but anyone who's used eJunkie has known they haven't updated their site since 1987 or whatever. It's just so incredibly outdated.
Yeah.
The service still works surprisingly, but it's like their whole admin is done in Flash, I think, or at least it was. It was. I don't know if they've changed it. The design hasn't changed, but Gumroad has really stepped up this year as a major player in the digital goods marketplace. So we sell a ton of digital goods on the arsenal, but they don't currently have a solution for 500 products like we have.
Yeah.
This is for like the individual artist or musician who's got a CD or a couple items they want to sell and make it so it's really convenient. People can literally share the link on Facebook and Twitter and it goes right to the buy page. It's just, and the checkout experience is really smooth. We've actually received compliments on Drawn to Business for the checkout experience. And how often do you get complimented on your checkout experience? Now that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and as far as the from the developer side, their API was fantastically easy to use, and we could customize pretty much everything that we were doing. So yeah.
How big of a
overall-
company are they?
I don't know. I saw an interview with the founder. He came from Pinterest, and so they're pretty small, from what I know.
Yeah.
They felt small when they had a table at WMC Fest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
and that was my
very, like,
introduction.
Yeah.
Working on
they're
their garage
brand
style.
new. They're brand new, so it's like they've only been in there for about a year and a half now, maybe. But that we.
Yeah, that was my introduction to him was WMC Fest, and you were just talking about a few minutes ago about TED Talks. You've been watching other TED Talks. back to WMC Fest, that's actually something that I've been doing, is going back and watching the the new videos that have been coming out. Even last year's videos of the speakers are great, because watching it in person is one thing, especially for me, because I was behind the bar, so I was half distracted while I was listening. But being able to go back, I mean, there was a lot of inspiring talks at WMC Fest this year.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because sometimes I take that for granted when all I am is wrapped up in like, how is the video quality produced? Because I'm producing, we're producing these videos and I'm trying to make sure everything's good. That sometimes I just completely forget about the content of the talk, and the speakers do such an awesome job. I mean, we have the first 5 videos of WMC Fest speakers up online on our Vimeo channel, so vimeo.com/WMC. And the first 5 are up. These Are Things and Troy DeShano both elicited tears from the audience. They were so moving. And Brandon Reich and Stephanie Landis and who's the last one? Rena Tom and Lisa Congdon. So they're all up there if you want to go check those out. People are sharing those because they are really inspiring. And what else do we got, Brian?
For me,
I think we're getting down to the fringe. Like we're kind of now we're like on you personally, web development. How
development fringe? Oh my.
I mean, this is the design podcast.
Yeah, from the development side, there's been quite a few things that I've been using a lot more this year that I'm thankful for. Aren't necessarily new. One of those things is Notepad++, which is a code editor, but it's also a text editor. Really minimal layout. So we had talked on a previous podcast about, like, should people use Dreamweaver or should people use like a Notepad++? But it's got like the color coding, so you can basically get through code without getting lost in it, type of thing. So I use it a lot. It has a lot of add-ons
nice.
As far as ending lines for you.
Sorry.
It's just got a lot of add-ons, so and it reads pretty much any language that you're writing in, as far as YAML or PHP, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Sass. So that's something that I've been relying on a lot. I'm very thankful to have that. Speaking of editors, Angry Sid in the live chat threw up brackets.io. I took a look at it. It's kind of like a Notepad++, so it's an open source code editor, but it looks really, really nice. So I'm definitely gonna put that link in the show notes. I'm gonna check it out because that looks pretty slick.
It's got a cool name.
Yeah,
it seems pretty cool.
But other things that I've been using a lot is Zurb Foundation. That's what we're using to develop pretty much all of our frameworks, even WordPress themes. We're starting from Zurb Foundation's grid system and some of their built-in JavaScript, especially when we're prototyping sites. It's nice to have something that we can easily get into and start working and make it look into a site with relative ease. So that's definitely something I've been using a lot. It's just been fantastic. It's made writing a lot easier, and that also introduced me into Sass, which is a godsend. That makes writing CSS so much more organized and easier to use, and it just does a lot of like the back end stuff. So you're using like a lot of variables and huge learning curve.
Yeah,
it was
at first it was confusing.
Yeah, at first it was really confusing because CSS really hasn't changed for so long, and this is like it's taking elements of CSS, but making it better, more organized.
Sass?
I don't know acronyms.
Is it a replacement for CSS?
No, it's just like it's a tool to write it. So it basically handles a lot of like responsive grids. It comes with like an EM calculator so that you can write in pixels, but it'll transfer it into EMs or percentages or whatever you're using.
Isn't it? I thought the acronym was something silly like super awesome style sheets.
Probably,
like that.
Probably. They usually are something like that. So there's been a lot of tools that have come out like that.
Yeah.
But Sass is definitely making our life a lot easier. Compass as well.
Yeah.
Notepad++, Zerb Foundation. This was just brought in a live chat, and I also have it in my list, and that is Google Chrome's web developer tool set, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So you hit F12, and you can see the code. You can inspect elements. That's been really awesome because it also allows us to edit inline. So, Bill, when you walk over and you say, we need to make this text smaller, I can, instead of going into the code in Notepad++ and changing it there, hitting save, and then having to refresh the browser or uploading it back to SVN so that he can see it on his computer. He can stand right behind me. I'm just in Chrome. I can change it, and it automatically updates on there, so we can see it before we actually apply it to the code.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I know this is something that Dave does a lot as we're playing, trying to get things to fit, trying to make things look better.
Yeah.
I was
pretty
curious
nice.
why you were going back and forth. I saw you writing the code and seeing the web page change. Then you jump to the other thing and make the edits to the actual your code base.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, why is he putting it in two different spots? Like.
Yeah. As soon as you said, yeah, I like that, then I would move it over to Notepad++. Yeah. So that's been great, and a new development that they've added. I just noticed it 2 weeks ago, but it's been awesome, and that is the inclusion of pseudo elements in line. So a pseudo element is basically you can create objects and place content inside of CSS instead of writing it. So like the social icons we create with a pseudo icon, either a pseudo element, and that's like before or after. So we're telling it, before this link, put this icon, and then we can style it. So it's less intensive in the HTML. We don't have to create images, that type of thing. It's all based there. So and IcoMoon is another thing that we've been using. It's a font set for icons, so social media icons, editor icons, pretty much everything that we do on WordPress displays, like the comments icon. That's a font, so it can go as big or as small as we want, and that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a couple of things now that you have been talking about it. Optimizely is something that I know a lot of web developers use for A/B testing, and marketers use that. I finally figured out how to implement it into our site, so it's kind of neat to be able to make some live changes to like the main copy on your landing page or something, and then see which one performs better. Like it'll save variations. You can create as many variations as you need to and run tests, and it gives you all the stats on like what gets clicked and how the engagement is on your page. So when we were launching Drawn to Business, I used it a ton to kind of figure out real answers to problems that I wasn't quite sure. Like, do I put the price grid before the packages or after the packages? It's like, you ask those kind of questions, but what you really should be doing is just testing it and seeing what works. You know what you want to do. You want to sell more books, so or you want more people to click on the buy buttons. I mean, that's the obvious goal. So which one's going to cause people to do that? Now the only problem is we didn't have enough visitors to really make the tests worthwhile. Our sample size, you need like 1,000 visitors or something like that, but we were getting just like 100 or 200 or so. And it's like, well, the results are pretty much 50-50. So
it was close.
It was real close, and I don't have enough technical know-how to really implement the e-commerce. I think I would have to work with either you or Dave to get the e-commerce worked in, so you hook it in with your products, and you can say like the Optimizely has generated this many sales, this landing page generated this many sales, this variation. Right now we didn't have the sales integrated. We just kind of had to guess which buy buttons were clicked more, which. From what I've seen, people click the buy buttons, but then they don't finish the checkout. That happened a lot. I don't really know why, because Gumroad has an awesome checkout. But the thing that I did learn was now I know how to use Optimizely, so now we're paying a monthly fee for it, which I'm not using it at the moment, so I could cancel it, I suppose. I think I probably should cancel that. Sorry, Optimizely. But next site we build, if we want A/B test, we'll use it. But in tandem with that, I like to use clicky stats still. Google Analytics are kind of like a default staple. They're always in the back end. They're always there. But then I also like to use Clicky. For some reason, Clicky's been around for a long time, and the interface hasn't changed. But their stats are so efficient, and their real-time spying stats are awesome. I love being able to see users that are active on the page right now and what pages they're going to, and what country they're from, and how they got to our site and stuff like that. Which Google has real-time stats now, but something about Clicky, I just like the simplicity of it. I'm a big fan of that. And then two other ones. Addthis.com is really nice for adding social media buttons, sharing buttons they're ever so popular on the web these days. But they've really taken some strides the past year to put more types of good design sharing tools on the page. You know, Heather uses it a lot for GoMedia Zine. Like they do like related content now for blogs, which is really interesting. So if someone shares a page, it recommends them other pages that are similar to the one that they shared, which is pretty cool. And it does it in a pretty clean way. It's like it's just a line of code that you stick on your website. I mean, for me, it's pretty convenient for like the running the zine and stuff. But I mean, there are some cons against it, meaning it's just more resource load on your website. It slows it down a tad.
Yeah, and you can go a little overboard. I mean, they with Add This, I mean, it's a great tool, but I could see how it could easily be abused by a blog writer, a blog user.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, because it has the related links at the bottom, it has the share icons on the left side. It has follow icons on the top right. You can set those as well, so you can set up so people can easily follow you on Twitter and Facebook. Yep. And it also includes the welcome bar, which is nice, but again, that's like a lot of stuff squeezing your viewport.
If you are one of those bloggers who are like, the more share buttons I put on my page, the more popular it will become, then it's perfect because you can put all of the options on your page. but like anything, you got to have use your judgment on what balance good design and readability with the convenience of being able to share it. So.
Yeah, and one thing I found out yesterday, you can also customize the buttons, so you don't have to use the built-in Facebook icons. You can create your own. So that was needed on a project that we're working on right now, and it's been awesome to be able to just swap out those images real easily. So the API documentation is fantastic.
And I think the best thing that I like about it is the analytics, because you get to see what your most shared content is. I mean, if you have a blog, that's like so key that what is the content that people are sharing, and it gives you a weekly report. Like, you had this post, it looks like it went viral because it had this many shares plus this many clicks on it, and then it gives you a little percentage on like the engagement or virality of that post, which is a pretty cool stat to know. So like when it gives you good feedback when you write a post, which ones are popular, which ones aren't, because comments are sure dwindling down on a lot of blogs that I've seen lately, unless they have a really, really engaged community where, which a lot of blogs, it's very few, it's really hard to get that super engaged community. I mean, we sort of had one a while ago, but like now it's like we post a really awesome article and get one comment on it, and it's like interesting. But
we still have good visitors.
Well, we got a ton of visitors on it.
Commenting has just
the commenting has dropped. But people will comment on Facebook. We'll get a lot of shares on it.
Maybe we need to write more controversial articles.
Yes, like write one about contrast.
Yes. Where the white text on a white background.
You have to select the text in order to see it.
So I did touch a little on SVN. That's something that we use a lot here. Beanstalk is the SVN service we use. Tortoise is the basic interface that we use to commit and bring down files, and that's new to you.
That's new to me. I'm a fan. So now no longer I have to be like bugging somebody to make a little CSS change. When all I want to do is, especially if I'm actually writing content and updating copy. Like I don't really need to get a developer involved in that, but I have to edit the HTML because it's just a one-page landing page. It's not a CMS or anything. So it's handy to do that. For a code cowboy like me. One that just plays by his own rules.
Yes, you do play by your own rules.
I did break the Arsenal 3. I deleted like 90% of our product database on accident. If you want to know the story behind that, well, a brief story. So we've got 500 products in our product database. We just imported it, and but I noticed some of the products were giving us 404 errors. So I was trying to figure out which ones give us those errors. So instead of clicking one by one, and then figuring out if I went to a 404 page, I used a Chrome extension called Check My Links, which checks all links on the page and tells you which ones are broken. I'm like, cool, convenient.
Right.
So I did that. and I guess it also checked all the links that said delete, and in order to check that, it activated the link. It navigated through it apparently and deleted all the products on the page. And I didn't realize that until I was 3 pages into our product library. And so, but fortunately, the site wasn't live. It was just, we had just imported it, and Wilson, our other developer, spent a lot of work getting everything imported properly, and then I just went ahead and undid all his work.
So what you're saying is we should take SVN away from you and just have you ask us to make changes.
Oh, well, sure, if you want. You can do that. Be like, Mommy, you'll take away the responsibility if you can't do it like a big boy.
I've just got maybe 3 more.
Yeah, I've got a couple small ones I can just rattle through.
Okay, go ahead.
An espresso machine. Just got an espresso machine. It's very important to me. My daily work. What was the key to the discussion? Things we discovered that made our lives better and happier. Yes. Espresso. The sales team. So last year we had what was developing as a new sales team getting going, but this is the first full year that we've had our sales team in and kicking ass, and it's been fantastic. I love it. The GoPro camera, I borrowed that from a company friend of ours and shot some videos with it, and it's amazing the quality you get out of that thing. It's a lot of fun, and I'm going to strap that thing to my head and do some drawing and see if it is a good way of capturing me in the drawing experience. I thought that it might, because I spin my head and spin my paper around a lot, and the still camera doesn't quite work real well, so I'm going to see if that works. Mm-hmm. And then this is also the first year that we had a full year of metrics and financial projections, and so I'm very excited about making the transition now at the end of this year into next year, both being able to review how things went, review people's metrics, review our financials, and now having a year under our belt of having done that, we're going to be able to do such a better job next year at budgeting and projecting out our financials, so that so yeah, I mean, that has been a tool that honestly, I used to really on a month-to-month basis have a bit of a foggy idea of how much money was going to get spent, and now I feel like I've got a pretty honed sense of what I know is going to get spent. So I really love that stuff.
I just have a couple. Is that it for you, Bill?
Yep, that's it for me.
So a couple things that I have. I'll save these for the end of this podcast, but they're a little different because it's not really design related. But I've been getting really into lucid dreaming and out of body experience and all that stuff, and I've been practicing meditation and getting really into that stuff, which is not something that people really quite understand. So I can understand.
Yeah, I don't understand.
So I've been reading a lot of books on that. Some people that I really like are Robert Monroe and William Buhlman. Those guys really dig into demystifying the whole thing and how you can use it to, become a better person and all that stuff. It's really cool. And some apps that I use are the meditation timer app. That's just basically what it is. Keeps track of that. And the Day One for journaling. It's really good. Like for Mac, I'm not sure if they have a PC version, but it's one of the best writing experiences, and tagging and journal. Makes it fun to write in your journal, which I definitely like that. And some other people that blew my mind this year is Eckhart Tolle, George Kavassilis, Neil Kramer, Teal Scott, and Sean Webb. Look all those people up if you're interested in exploring, your inner self and your mind and psychology and, consciousness and all that stuff. Bryan, what do you got left?
So going back to using Google more, one thing that I've done a lot more lately is using Google Hangouts. Both on a on a personal level, I've had phone calls that I can see my mom and dad, and they live in Florida now, so I've been able to use Google Hangouts for that. The Q&A, we use Google Hangouts to stream the video, which was great. Right now we're using Google Hangouts to stream today's call, just so you guys can see the video and what we look like while we do this. So yeah, it's just so versatile, and it also has its own screen sharing setup. So I've trained 2 clients how to use WordPress and how to move around their design and everything in Google Hangouts.
That was almost better than having them here live, because they were sitting at their computer being able to interact with the actual CMS.
Yeah, and we still we both had webcams, so we were able to make the eye contact, still see each other, and then I could share my screen so that he could see exactly what I'm looking at. So there's a few ways that we train. One is in person, which is great when they're local, but when they're not, we've been relying on phone calls, and it's been like let's lead them blindly, hoping that they're following our directions to get everything. This is much better. And Hangouts is it's also device friendly, so they could sit there on their tablet and be able to see.
Can we've got a scenario coming up where it would be helpful for us to use something like that, where one of our clients would walk us through their website that we're going to redesign. So we would need like 4 or 5 people on our end watching the client walk through that. Can multiple people log into that one experience?
Yeah. So similar to that, if we didn't have this kind of solution, we'd all have to kind of circle around a computer behind someone to watch what they're doing, type of thing. Which is how I did a few trainings where I had to go to the company and squeeze into their tiny office and have to train 3 or 4 people on one computer. With Hangouts, they could all sit at their different computers, log in. I think it can accept up to 9 people in the call, so 9 people can talk and be able to interact. Or you could do a live Hangout, like what we're doing, so people can watch that feed. So now, if it's not,
does the person that's sharing their desktop have to be the one that creates the Hangout?
No.
Or can you create it and
someone else can create it?
Someone
yeah.
And okay.
Yeah, and realistically,
do they need a Google account basically?
Yeah, and realistically, if you have 9 other people in the Hangout with you, you could all be sharing your screens at one time, type of thing. So you can click and view each one individually.
Awesome.
So yeah,
we'll be using that.
Yeah,
so.
it's been useful in a lot of different things. So definitely check it out if you haven't yet. And outside of that, I've got one other thing, and it's really helped me focus, and it's helped me overall just get in the groove of things. That's been Spotify. It's new to me this year. I bought a premium account.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just nice to just have this wide assortment of music, different styles, different playlists, a lot of collaborative playlists as well.
Yeah.
And just escape and go into the code view or the design view or whatever you're doing. That's been a great app for me. Again, I've used it in the car driving. I've used it at my desk working.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
Big
it's
fan
really
of it.
cool.
Mostly because you don't really have to manage your music library the same way. You don't have to worry about syncing your device. Spotify's pretty automatic, and in fact, I use that in place of iTunes to play local files.
Yeah.
And because
I do as well.
Yeah, it's say I want to put my band's new practice MP3s on my device to go listen to while I'm doing the dishes. To do that with iTunes, you got to add them to your library, do an iPhone sync, which whoops, I can't find my iPhone somehow. Plug it in, do all this riff-raff. It's going to erase my content. I don't want that. A lot of stupid hang-ups. But then it's with Spotify, just throw it in a playlist, make that playlist available for offline use, and then as long as both my machine that I put it on and my device are there connected, it's so fast, and I can listen to it right away. So it's even good for local files, I'm finding.
Yeah.
Not just streaming.
Yeah, it's definitely a good service, and this year I did get a little bit more into podcasting as far as listening to a whole assortment of podcasts. The only problem is, the way that Spotify is better is, I don't have to listen to pay attention to Spotify. I can just, just have the background music type of thing, and if someone walks to my desk, I don't have to hit pause. I can just take my headphones off and have the conversation, and when they walk away, I can put my headphones back on and get back in the groove. With podcasts, it's a little different. You've got to pause so that you can stay in the conversation.
Yeah, that's tough. Anytime I'm listening to a podcast or audiobook, which I like to do because it's a productive listening experience. I'm not just zoning out. I'm actually getting through something I'm trying to get through. But you have to be working on stuff that's not taking up too much of your left brain. If I'm reading or writing,
Yeah.
it's like I can't listen to an audiobook or podcast. But if
Yeah,
I'm
when I'm-
designing, yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah, when I'm designing, I can listen to anything, and I love it. But these days, so much of my hours are spent figuring stuff out. Like my brain is processing, and if there's a voice in my head, forget about it. I can't think straight. So,
Right. Yeah. And for podcasting, I'm still a fan of Instacast for my listener.
Yeah, I'm using Dogcatcher
hmm
on Android, so that's been good. I wish there was a better podcast listener on PC.
Oh, really? Just on the computer, on
Yeah.
PC.
I mean, you can use iTunes, but outside of that, like, there's no real good podcast listening program. Like, I wish I could use Spotify for podcasts.
I mean, you can, but you can't like subscribe to
Yeah.
it, and it doesn't like update automatically. Can we put our podcast on Spotify?
I think so. I
You know,
would imagine
that's
we
the
could.
thing that I don't like about Spotify is there's like for independent people, it's really kind of it's easier to get on there than it is to get on iTunes.
Sure.
But it's still at the same time there's a barrier for like a lot of people are on Bandcamp. I know a lot of people listen to Bandcamp, and all those artists are not on Spotify. For independent bands, musicians, local music, it's like you still got to go to their Bandcamp page and then download their MP3s and listen to them the old-fashioned way, which is so funny to say that.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if there was a music service that connected to Bandcamp and connected to wherever independent music are actually in music. SoundCloud, it includes SoundCloud, Bandcamp.
I love
and-
SoundCloud. I've been using that
Yeah.
more and more recently.
So it's not, if it connected like those places, it seems like it got electronic musicians that use SoundCloud
Right.
and DJs, they post their stuff there. Then you got all the indie bands and emo bands and punk kids that are using Bandcamp. And then you've got Spotify, which is basically all the bands are on labels to get in there. I mean, I have my music on Spotify, but I paid TuneCore $99 a year to get it in there, and I make no money. I make a 7 trillionth of a cent or something bizarre per play. It's like so bad. It's almost like
I had a client come in recently that was looking at building a new business model, and I know that like iStock and a lot of these companies that normally you'd pay royalties are moving to subscription-based systems, and the conversation led to me thinking like, how do they do it? How does iStock pay a photographer if someone's got a subscription-based platform? If it's a subscription-based platform where they're watching like Netflix, are they paying attention every time someone watches that video or downloads it? So it's still based on downloads, but then they have to like pay that person. I mean, if a person pays a subscription of $7.99 and then they watch one movie 1,000 times in that month, is Netflix going to lose money because they've got to pay out? You know what I mean? Like royalty every time someone watches their movie, and Netflix only made $7.99 and they lost $1 per play on that movie, which was $1,000. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how those business models actually work. It's something I think
it's weird with Netflix.
we're gonna have to
too,
talk about
because
this because
with
you're talking
Netflix-
about building one for the arsenal.
Yeah, and the weird thing with Netflix is they would like have to pay somebody like HBO like a deal, exclusive deal to get their content, and then they got to go to another,
Content
broadcast,
provider,
yeah, and
like-
then pay them a different deal. That's like it could be less money or more money than what HBO is getting, or
Right.
not HBO. HBO doesn't even participate.
And this is a whole other This is a whole other podcast.
It's another whole
but-
other podcast, but so it's like, but then you have the independent people on there whose movies only get watched, a couple hundred times a month, by a very niche audience. So it's like, what are they getting? Are they even getting anything? So, and same thing with like iTunes. If my music's on iTunes, but I don't make the same percentage as somebody from like Warner Brothers Records, who's Justin Bieber or something like that. Like he's probably making more money per download than I am. So there's tiers, but I'm sure from my experience, as sometimes I've been on marketplaces where like the Envato marketplace, that's a subscription base, and we are a content provider, and so it's basically like our stuff has been downloaded. Say there's 100 different artists in the system and 1,000 different products, and then the subscription fee is like $10. And say if me as a user, I am responsible for 10% of the downloads, then I get 10% of that subscription payment from the total pool. Of, say there's like a ton of subscribers, there's like a $10,000 in the pot that month, and my profile contributed to 10% of the downloads that
So
month.
it's impossible for them to lose money in that scenario because it's just based on a percentage of what the total
Yeah,
was for the month
that's
in
what I'm
terms of
thinking.
what they
Yeah.
brought in.
And each person could have a different percentage. Like maybe if I could have a 5% and someone else could have a 1%. You know, like depending on how the deal that we worked out with that.
You know that's how it works, or you think that's how it
Well,
works?
sure, because it worked in the marketplaces that I was involved in, because they're like, well, we'll give you this percentage. You know, it's like they could just give it, they just assign you one. You know, like, or we could work out a deal. Like
That's
I want,
where you would end up with that like 0.00017% of total revenues, because your song is, you know, if there's a million products on there
yeah,
and you've got one product on there, now every product on the store is downloaded once, you get like 1/1,000,000th of a percent of, you
yeah,
know.
exactly, yeah. So that's, and I think too, if my products were, say my songs on Spotify were more popular, I would probably get, like, I would probably advance into a different tier of royalties. You know, like because I paid TuneCore and I'm in there as an independent artist, so to speak, like self-serve, that I'm probably like the last priority artist for them. I don't even have a bio, like, or related artists. They don't even show up for me. And I think that also is because I don't have enough plays for it to do the right math to calculate who's related and who's not. Because like someone could listen to Weird Al Yankovic and then listen to my stuff and then draw the two together, or something bizarre like that, you know. So I think when you're in Spotify or iTunes, just like the independent artist really has no chance of making any money. It's really just
Exposure.
that's where people are listening to their music from. So you got to put your music there where they're listening to it.
I still use Rhapsody.
Yeah, and you know, with a service like TuneCore, you get distributed to Rhapsody and all of them for a flat fee per month.
Mm-hmm.
There's a site I saw that was basically just Spotify only. Just get your music up on Spotify, but it's for free. Like you don't get any money, you don't get any sales.
Right.
But I think I'd rather do that than pay, because I'm not getting any money from the sales. Brent Simon still makes money.
Does he really?
It's just like, you know, pennies on the dollar, but still brings in a little bit of money. And he doesn't pay enough to keep his subscription active. I mean, it's less money than I'm paying them to keep it in this in the database, but it's there.
All right, so today's conversation has been things that we use, philosophies that we follow, different things that have basically ingrained themselves into our everyday lives that we're thankful for in 2013.
Yeah, and I think as a summary, we should always remember to be grateful for stuff. I mean, that's a really cheesy thing to say, but Bill, you said you've seen lots of research. If you just do a daily gratitude journal, or just like name one thing at least at the end of the day that you're thankful for that day, what you do is you just get in the habit of recognizing things that are good in your life, and then by doing that, you'll start to notice more things that are good in your life, and in turn,
Yeah, I recently heard about gratitude meditation, where you close your eyes and basically meditate, and you just try and think about all the different things that you're, you know, thankful for. I mentioned to Jeff earlier that I've got a friend that's posting something she's thankful for every single day on Facebook, and I've been doing that a little bit myself, and it's helpful when you're getting into a bad mood about, gosh, financial cash flow at GoMedia is really bad this month. I'm really sad. Oh, wait a minute. I own a company. Cool. Right? Like, flip whatever you're feeling bad about into something that you're grateful about.
yeah, I think that's great advice. Although the problem is, that seems to be
There's
the
no
last
problem.
There's a problem with my motivation. With it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, I could write in my gratitude journal, or I can go to sleep, which is really what I want to do right now. And I always end up choosing sleep over writing in the gratitude journal. I'm sad about that.
Well, you can just lay down and close your eyes and meditate on
And
things
think
you're
of it.
grateful for while you're falling asleep.
Think about it, yeah. The trick is to notice it like immediately, you know, like when it happens, you know, become aware of those things in the middle of the day rather than at the end of the day, you know, when you're trying to remember everything that happened. That's the hardest thing for me. It's hard for me to just remember what I ate for lunch that day, you know, that's the trouble.
And you can tie it to something so that you've got a habit of it. I know that, you know, my uncle prays before every single meal,
Mhm.
but his prayer is basically just stating what he's thankful for. So that's
Yeah.
a good habit to get into if you just think of something that you're thankful for before you eat, which would be like 15 times a day for me.
There you go, Bill.
I'm
Perfect.
thankful that I had this opportunity to eat.
Absolutely.
All these
That's
deadlines.
that is absolutely one of the... It's only going to get worse.
All right, so I think that's it.
Mhm.
I think we can close out. So for more information about GoMedia and the work we do, you can check out gomedia.us. And we'd love to hear what you think about this podcast as well as what you'd like to hear in future editions. You can tweet us at go_media, post on our Facebook wall, or send an email to podcast@gomedia.us. You can find Jeff on Twitter at Jeff_Finley, Bill at William_Beachy, and I am at Bryan Garvin. We'll talk again in December. Actually, no. In December, we're going to release, there's been a Q&A for Drawing the Business. A lot of good material was said during that Q&A. We're hosting another one in December. So December's podcast is going to be a combination, the best moments of advice and the best answers to your guys' questions are going to be in the December edition of the podcast. The next live podcast won't be until January of 2014. So until then, have a good time.
Well, we'll see you at the next live Drawn to Business Q&A if you want to join us for that.
Check out GoMediaZine.com. There will be a blog post, I believe on Monday, that'll explain when it is, what it is, and how to get involved. So,
great.
Thanks again, and yeah, we'll see you guys.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
guys.
And everyone in the live chat, again, thank you so much for joining. You guys added a lot of great stuff in the conversation. I know we didn't bring a whole lot into the on-air, or as much as we would have liked to, but I've jotted a lot of notes down. So if you're still watching the video, I've got a lot of notes of things to link in the show notes. So if you came late, or you're watching the video, or you're just listening to the audio on Mixlr, check out the show notes. I hope it's going to be out tomorrow. Tomorrow being November 22nd. That's Friday. So I'm going to be working hard tonight to try and get this all edited and put together. So I look forward to that. But again, thanks everyone in the live chat. You guys were great. Thanks to everyone who's watching on YouTube. You were also awesome. And yeah, we'll see you next time.